So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today, we're going to be talking about an interesting development out of Detroit. This article is from Sarah Rahal, and it says Detroit OK's Workplace Standards Board for Arena Workers. And I think this is really interesting. So, the Detroit City Council voted for an industry standards board for arena workers at Little Caesars Arena, Ford Field, and Comerica. And all three of those are owned by the city of Detroit, or I think Wayne County. But they're all owned by that. And they have these uh, industry standard boards. So these are government, effectively government employees, right? And it sounds like they need these industry standard boards to make them become good employers, which is wild to me, right? They have to vote to become good employers, and that's ultimately what it is. So, um, the more than a dozen SEIU members joined the city council's session on creating this. And the board, this industry standards board, is going to assist the city in providing recommendations for basic health, safety, and job standards. So the so the city council needs people to tell them how to become good employers, right? Basic health and safety and job standards. Now, we'll talk in a little bit because that's not actually accurate. And that's where it's a little interesting. Now, this is working with the SEIU. They're a service union that is massive. They had a bunch of their own employees strike against themselves. I'll have the link down below because I've got a video on it. But the industry standards board is going to gather information through the investigation and look at employees and management, and it's going to be effectively a committee. I do not like committees. I've made that fairly clear in the workplace. I find that nothing gets done in committees. And again, ultimately, this indicates that the government, which is ran, by in theory at least, by very pro-employee people, right? The people that are running the city council are, in theory at least, pretty pro-worker, but they need this standards board to tell them, how to do basic safety, health, and job standards. So then once the board is created, they will, look at factors that contribute to shortage of workers or difficulties retaining workers in the arena industry, can conduct educational outreach that increases public participation about practices that may negatively impact workers. I want to know what that means. If I had to guess, for example, a public thing that would be a practice that would negatively impact workers is if you kicked over some popcorn at one of the stadiums and then didn't clean it up or something, right? I don't know what that means. And then in addition, they'll consider the required level of compensation in the subject industry to provide for family supporting wages. So again, the city council needs them. A city council that I think, if you look at all of their resumes, will indicate that they are extremely pro worker. In fact, Fred Durhal, which is one of the city council members, was a member of the Detroit branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Rainbow Push, the NAACP, the Rainbow Push Coalition, and a former union member. He was a former member of the Teamsters Local 377. In addition, Coleman Young II passed anti-discrimination laws, anti-pregnancy discrimination laws in the city of Detroit. So these are people with, in theory, bona fides with respect to protecting workers, but are not even providing basic standards. Apparently, it goes on. The 9 industry standards board shall be individuals who either live or work in the city, and their 3 members are employees, and 3 members from the mayor, Mike Duggan, and 3 from city council. Now, this is somewhat similar to the structure of the German worker councils. That's generally public industry, but you have these workers on the committee. Usually you have people who are from industry, but of course this is a public practice. They can't pay their people correctly. And then that's how they normally work. So I think that's kind of interesting. Especially what I find to be most interesting is, as far as I can tell, all of these workers are unionized. So where is the SEIU on this? Am I wrong? I see the SEIU all over it. I mean, they're helping create this. More than a dozen SEIU members joined the council's formal session. But Why didn't these workers go to their union? Um, and so what I think is interesting further is that it says workers told city council members there's inconsistent pay, working hours, and expectations, and multiple people work all three to make ends meet. Now that sounds awful, but a couple things. One, of course, there's inconsistent pay. These are stadiums. For example, Comerica Park has what 81 baseball games a year. That's that's 4 months in a regular workday, and that's assuming you work 8 hours. Stadiums aren't really built to have full time jobs. That's not, and for two, a lot of people don't even take stadium jobs because of money because it doesn't. It's not enough to typically support. They're there because they want to witness the team and get free seats. That's not a in my opinion that's not a typical source of income. And this article mentions Portia Perry, who works at Ford Field and Comerica and is a security officer. So she has three jobs, which is a nightmare from an HR person. And so, from an HR person, three jobs within the same company is a nightmare from an overtime keeping standpoint. I wouldn't do it. But as a single mother working three jobs, said it's not easy, and she often has to miss quality time with her children because one job is not enough. Yeah, agreed. Say, stadium jobs usually aren't, and in addition, they're in that prime time when you are with children, right? It's 7 o'clock at night. That's not the expectation for these jobs. You shouldn't. There should be no plan to live on a job at any of these stadiums because it is inconsistent and very spotty, right? I mean, Comerica Park, 81 games a year, maybe some others, maybe some concerts or something like that. Pretty irregular. Ford Field, 16 a year, or 8 a year rather, and 8 to 9 a year, and just not enough. But it says with this board we could address the low wages. Well, no. I mean, it's not about, you said it was about job standards and safety, but you're not going to be able to address the low wages. I mean, I suppose that the city government is just going to increase ticket prices and pay for it. But again, if you wanted regular work, I wouldn't have gone with a stadium. It's not going to be regular. But the SEIU has delivered signatures because, of course, they have. It's a little crazy. It's not. Where is their union? If the SEIU is so involved in this, is the SEIU not supporting them? Right? Why aren't they looking for higher wages through the union? That's generally how it works, and it's because ultimately, it's fairly toothless and just inconsistent, right? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. I think this is interesting. It's one that really caught my eye out of Detroit, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.